These are the 4 essential steps for learning new vocabulary. In this video, we're going to focus on number 4, but I wanted to give you a few tips on the first couple of steps just before we get into that. First of all, you need to look up definitions. However, don't just look up definitions on the internet. I would recommend getting a physical children's dictionary and a children's thesaurus to make sure that the definitions are understandable. There's no point writing down a definition that you don't understand. Parents, the reason I recommend a physical dictionary rather than an online one is because using the dictionary gives your child practice in using alphabetical order, which they won't get online. However, if you are stuck and you don't have a dictionary at home or a thesaurus, there are a couple of websites aimed at children that you can use. Wordhippo.com and wordcentral.com are great for synonyms, dictionaries, antonyms, and even have some example sentences. Our second step for learning new vocabulary is reading example sentences. Again, these can be found on the websites that I mentioned before. It's really important to look up example sentences that a child can understand so they can see how the word would be used. If you're one of our attendees at our online vocab course, don't worry too much about these first couple of steps as it's all incorporated into the course, as is step 3, which is writing your own sentences. Make sure that you've written all of the definitions of a word down. Sometimes it can be used in different ways, like a noun, an adjective, a verb. So make sure you've understood each of the ways that word can be used, and then try to write your own sentences that incorporate that word. It's great for an adult to check them if they can. I know some of the parents that speak English as a second language won't be too confident in checking these sentences. If your child has a tutor, maybe ask them to have a look over them. But even so, even if no one can check them, writing your own sentences with that word is a good way of just revising the definition. Now finally, you'll need to revise the word. Do this on a different day than the day that you looked up the definitions and wrote the example sentences, because it's important that your brain kind of half forgets this information and then has to retrieve it in order to make sure that it stays in your mind in the long term. Because remember, that's what we want. There's no point learning a load of words and then forgetting them all shortly afterwards. So in this video, I'm going to show you the scientifically proven best way to learn vocabulary in the long term. It's quick, it's easy, and it's fun. So let's get into it. The very best way of learning new vocabulary is to draw out the definitions. You wouldn't think it, but this method has been scientifically proven to be better than flashcards, writing definitions, or really anything else that you can do to learn new vocabulary. I would just spend 10 to 15 minutes a day, if you can, playing with someone else in your household, where you both pick a selection of words to use for this game and then draw them. So you can see here, I've picked just 6 words that we've done recently on our vocabulary course. Pick 5 to 10 words, I'd say. So you can give that selection of words to your opponent and let them know that you're going to pick one of those words, you're going to draw it on the whiteboard, and they should guess which of the words that you picked. Now, I'm going to pick impede to do today. This is one that we've covered recently in our vocabulary class, and in those classes we usually discuss the Latin etymology, so what the different parts of the word mean. So we discussed pede meaning foot and im meaning not, and actually literally impede means to shackle someone's feet or to hold someone's feet. So I would encourage your child, when they're doing these drawings, to maybe do a drawing that links to the Latin root words, because that's going to help them even more with remembering the words and also decoding new words if similar roots and prefixes come up. Okay, so impede, you would pick this word from the list, don't tell the other person which one you've picked, and then you can draw it on the board. Now, I'm not going to have a very good drawing, but it doesn't matter. Let's make sure this person has 5 toes. I don't think they do. Draw another chubby little foot here. And then I'll draw someone holding on to the foot. So see if the person can guess from that. You might want a stop sign or something like that, because it prevents them from moving on. So give yourself maybe 30 seconds to draw a little picture and see if your opponent can guess which word you picked to illustrate. Work through the words on your list systematically so that you've covered pretty much all of them for the day, and the next day perhaps test yourself on those definitions, see if you remember them. If not, you can roll those words over into another day and include them in your next game of Pictionary. Now I'm just going to show you how you can also use this method to remember some of the Latin root words, which again will help with decoding entirely new vocabulary in future. Morphemes are part of a word like the prefix, the root word, or the suffix. I'm going to focus on Latin roots here, just because a lot of English words come from Latin, but you could focus on French or Greek roots if you felt like it. This list here is from our vocabulary course. There is a free download or a couple of free downloads in the description to this video if you want to download a pack of worksheets, which will start off with a sheet like this at the beginning that you can use for your vocab practice. Otherwise, you can Google roots, word roots, and you should be able to find quite a long list online. The illustrator in this part will need a list of all of the Latin roots and their meanings. The ones on this screen are jumbled up, but you can join them up beforehand. So spect goes with look, head goes with foot, and so on. Now what the illustrator is going to do is they will give a list of just the root words to the person they're playing with. So the words on the left. The illustrator is then going to draw some pictures that represent each of the root words. The person playing with you is going to have to guess the root word and guess the meaning. So for example, manus means hand. So you might want to draw words that involve manus. If your child's done the online vocabulary class, then they should have some example words already written down. Otherwise you can look them up, there's a list on Wikipedia. So manus words include manicure and manipulate. So they might want to draw illustrations of a manicure, of someone maybe manipulating something like clay, and then the person they're playing with will guess that, okay, these words have man in common, so maybe that's your root, and they have hands in the pictures, so manus must mean hand. I'll go through a couple of examples because this is a little tricky to understand. Really though, don't worry too much about the rules and what you're supposed to do. The point is that you get some drawing done and you have a look at these words and their meanings. So for spect, for example, if you inspect something, then that gives you the clue that it's look, or spectacles will give you the clue for look as well. So I would draw maybe spectacles, and how do I draw an inspector? Maybe if we draw an eye, doesn't look very much like an eye, looking through a magnifying glass, something like that. Remember, it doesn't actually matter whether this is good quality, which this is not. What matters is that your child has actually gone through the process of drawing. So these kind of things might give your opponent a clue, which will help them to guess that spect means look. I'll do another little illustration just so you can see what I mean, how to use these. So you might pick ped next, and then you need to give clues that ped means foot. You could draw a bike. You can tell I haven't been on a bike in a long time. I can't remember what one looks like. And draw the pedals and maybe point to the pedals so we know which part of the bike it is. And we had pedicure. Again, I have to draw feet. Let's draw a little bottle of nail varnish, because that's what you'd have at a pedicure. So you can draw little pictures like that. So think of words that relate to these roots, which is a good exercise in itself, and then draw them out for someone to guess which ones match with which. Okay, so that's all from me today. Don't forget, use this method every time you want to learn new vocabulary, because it is scientifically proven that it's the absolute best way. So do this a few times a week, and I promise you will be able to learn hundreds of new words over the next couple of months. If you'd like more information about our classes, more free downloads or any tips, then please do visit kinlearning.com, where you can also sign up for our online vocabulary course. And don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe using the links below. Bye.